Hey everybody, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are out there. This is Doc Severson with ReadySetCrypto. Today is Wednesday, the 10th of January, as we get into a new year. I think we are right on the dawn, or right on the very precipice, whatever way you look at it, of seeing a very important instrument coming forward with the Bitcoin ETF. So regardless of what you think about it, I think it's going to be a big change to our market. So with that, I'm going to go into how we make money with this new monster. How do we make money with the ETF? So I'm going to do a little bit of death by PowerPoint here. This is only going to take about 10 minutes. I want to kind of set the table and show you a few things. And then we will get into our usual looking at charts. Okay, so with that, let's get started here. So I'm not going to address religious arguments about the worth of turning Bitcoin into a stock fund, right? So I know that some people that are out there, the purists that are out there, are thinking this is the worst possible thing ever that could happen to this market because it, it mixes the streams, if you will. But spot Bitcoin will still have the advantages of portability, privacy, and insulation from the fiat world. That's not going away. It's just we are going to muddy the waters a little bit. It's going to be a derivative. So I'm purely looking at today's topic from the perspective of how do we make money from this new instrument. So if you don't learn this now, you're going to have to wait however long it takes before you're going to see other people jump on board this. So I want you guys to be some of the first to understand what's going on here. So first of all, what is an ETF? What is an exchange-traded fund? Well, let's give an example here. If you wanted to trade gold futures, so these are the gold futures that are traded in Chicago. One contract of gold futures requires about $11,000 in initial margin. If I want to control one contract, whether that's long or short, it's going to take an initial margin. That means before any losses are applied, if it goes against me at all, $11,000, that's not inexpensive, right? So that's not for small investors to eat up that. All right, I am cutting in and out. Is anybody else hearing me cutting in and out? I don't hear that. Okay, so gold ETF. If we look at instead the ETF, if we look at instead of the futures contract, if we look at the ETF, which is the GLD, now it's much, much easier to do this. I can invest in the GLD ETF with as little as $180. And that's the most that I'm going to lose. So that's the initial margin is the per share price for this. So this really democratizes, this really drops the floor on investment for the retail trader that wants exposure into gold. Okay, so ETFs provide a way to open up investment into different commodities that are normally beyond the grasp of the retail space. So this could be if you wanted to do, currency futures, or if you wanted to do something like, pork bellies or anything that's out there which are more obscure and requires more knowledge to be able to trade, ETFs are a way to simplify that. It's much, much easier to get involved through an ETF. Okay, so by doing so, they open up investment from the trillions of dollars of global investment funds that are constantly looking for yield. So one very important point, if you invest in a Bitcoin ETF, those invested funds will always stay in the fiat world. Have you guys ever seen that? I forget where that is, but it's like you've got waters, fresh water, which is out there. Then you've got some kind of, mixing into some kind of ocean through some kind of, tributary going out into the ocean. And you see the two different types of water, and they don't really mix all that well. And this is going to be the same thing. If you invest in a Bitcoin ETF, those invested funds will always stay in the fiat world. This is a derivative of spot Bitcoin and will never lead you to owning spot Bitcoin. Get it? Okay. So understand that. So how can you invest? There are several spot Bitcoin ETFs being released as soon as this week. Now, we all know what happened yesterday. Somebody hacked into the SEC Twitter account or X account and posted something out there. And then, just because of the way that the SEC is, I don't think they want to look like they're, bending a knee to anybody else. So they're probably going to delay it for a day or two just to put some distance between that. So they're going to battle it out amongst themselves to be the preferred ETF. So, this has been going on for decades now in the stock basis. There's, I don't know how many ETFs that represent the S&P 500, but there's really only one SPDRs, right? So the SPY is only underwritten by one firm. So everybody's going to be duking it out to get to be the preferred ETF with the most invested funds and the strongest liquidity. They'll likely be traded on the NASDAQ exchange, and they will be available globally. So I don't care if you're in Australia. I don't care if you're in Belgium. We got people all over the place. I don't care if you're in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. You will have access to be able to trade these through any kind of typical fiat stock brokerage like Robinhood, E-Trade, Schwab, whatever you have available to, Webull, you name it. So you will be able to invest on a per share basis, and there's going to be a price compression versus spot Bitcoin because a $40,000 per share ETF would never fly, right? So I'm thinking that they'll probably do something. They'll probably do something like maybe make it $47 a share, right? So $47 a share would make sense. So if this ever came down to $1,000, then it would be priced at $1 per share. So we can only dream of prices like that again. So you will be able to buy single or fractional shares and then own shares of this ETF. This will not give you any investor rights as no one owns Bitcoin. So if you own common shares of stock, you do have rights as an investor. You can you can vote for leadership. You can make a proxy fight. You can take over that company if you buy enough shares, but nobody's going to own Bitcoin, unlike public companies. So the huge advantage here, this is why I'm talking to you guys today, and I'm very excited about this because I see this as a great way to make money in the short term and maybe even the longer term as well too. No financial market truly attracts capital in today's world without a full set of derivatives. Now, I know that's a bad word since 2008. Ooh, derivatives. But options are where everything flows through. Everything lives and dies based on how options are traded in that market. This is for cash flow and risk control. So all of you have been programmed to think that options are risky, but in fact, it's the opposite. If you have a market without options, that is risky. This is why institutions are very, very tepid on Bitcoin right now, but they will be much more so through an ETF because it's got risk control. So this is the biggest problem with a Grayscale Trust stock. So a lot of you have either invested in or heard of GBTC, which is a stock which tracks Bitcoin, sort of, in a rough basis, but it has no options. There's no way to trade this other than just buying the shares. So current spot Bitcoin offerings are very poor. I first wrote about them 6 years ago when we had Deribit and when we had Ledger X and companies like that. But unfortunately, it hasn't changed much in 6 years. It really hasn't gotten any better. In fact, it's gotten worse for people in the U.S. because Deribit has decided to block people from the U.S., so we have no access to the world's biggest Bitcoin options market. And in the US, we have Ledger X. Oh, I like that sound. We have Ledger X, which is physically settled. However, it is physically settled, which means that you can trade for Bitcoin, right? So you can get spot Bitcoin from it, but it's very, very illiquid. The spreads are really bad, and it's difficult to work with because to transfer money in, you have to wire it in, which is expensive. So these have not materially grown in the past decade. I've been waiting, just like I feel like I'm, growing a beard, waiting for these things to get better, and it just hasn't. So what options allow you to do? And so I'll finish up here in a second. I want to show you an example of what you can do with them, and then we'll get into the TA stuff. So first of all, you can create income and cash flow. How on earth are you going to create income right now through Bitcoin? Well, you can do mining. You can do some, there's other things you can do. I mean, but I've seen how cash intensive that is. It's really difficult to create income from crypto right now. So you can loan your money out, things like that. But I think writing options is a much, much better way to do it. You can manage your investment risk. You can create different strategies to allow you to earn income regardless of the direction of the price, which is cool, right? So if you're setting up a directional trade, your chances of success are only 33% on a directional trade. Up, down, or sideways, you only get one of them right. So this also allows physical settlement of the underlying ETF stock instead of cash settlement like spot Bitcoin options. So you can be assigned shares of the stock if you want to, if that is your goal. The leverage allows smaller accounts to trade like larger accounts if they have the right approach. So again, I think this is great for smaller accounts. So this is why I'm talking to you guys today. So let me show you enough of the PowerPoint. Let me show you a couple of examples of what we should be able to do with the Bitcoin ETF after it's released with options. Okay, so for example, so I'm just going to bring up, this is a TD Ameritrade account, Thinkorswim. Let's look at gold. Now, if I think that gold is range bound, and I could apply this towards any chart, right? So we'll apply this towards Bitcoin in a minute, but we don't because we don't have options. But if I think it's range bound, if gold's just going to sit there and trade between this range, what can I do if I'm just trading the shares? Not much. I can try to buy when it's at the bottom of the range. I can try to sell at the top of the range or just take profits, whatever I want to do. There's not much that I can do. And for those of you long-only investors, I mean, it's like walking around, you've been on, 2023 has been good, but during a bear market, you have to just sit there and hodl and just hold on to your bags, and it sucks, right? So if you can trade irrespective of the direction, so here's an example of something that I can do. I can set up what's called an iron condor. Here, this is an option strategy where I can say, hey, I think it's going to be range bound within this area. And, maybe let's see, I'm going to set up, how many contracts should I set? Let's set up 5 contracts of this. And I'm going to risk no more than $1,800, but I'm going to look to make $670. In fact, the very second that I execute the trade, $670 goes into my account. So now you become kind of like an insurance company. You're receiving the premiums, and what you hope to do is you hope to limit the number of settlement checks that you have to write. So this is where you become truly a cash flow business. And this is why I've been doing this now for 20 years. And this is my primary income is through selling options. And this is why I'm pumped for you guys, because now there's a chance that we can do some of this in the crypto space as well too. And this is a huge step for us. So hopefully step 1, we get some type of ETF approved this week, right? So we get some type of ETF approved this week. I'm going to put myself in the lower corner here. And then once that happens is we'll look for the options to be traded. And as soon as there's options traded and as soon as I can verify that they're going to be good enough and liquid enough, then we're going to be trading strategies within readysetcrypto.ONE and showing you guys how to do cash flow with this stuff. So I'm real pumped about it. And with that, let me know if you have any questions about what I've just talked about here. Otherwise, what I'm going to do, I'm a tab monster. Don't hate on me, okay? Don't hate on me. I'm a tab monster. But we'll go into the TA section here in the next few minutes. So we'll be here till about the bottom of the hour. So the next 15 minutes. If you guys have any tickers that you want me to take a look at. So obviously Bitcoin, there is going to be a sell the news type reaction. I think what will happen is once it's announced, we'll see this probably shoot up to at least, I don't know, we're pretty close to 50K right now, maybe even 60K. So there could be a lot of money that comes into here. But I think there's going to be somewhat of a sell the news reaction. And part of this is I think people are going to be taking money off of the spot exchanges, the centralized exchanges like Coinbase and so forth, and putting them into ETFs because of the risk control, because specifically of the risk control. So those that are into crypto and want to use crypto for the portability, the privacy and everything like that, will keep it there. We'll keep it on their decentralized exchanges or in their wallets and everything like that. But you're going to have, grandma and grandpa's pension fund now investing into Bitcoin through the ETF. So that money's going to be coming in. Okay, so let's move over here. So Seb has put some requests in. And Seb, let me see if I can find these. So I'm going to start with perp. Okay, so perp versus tether. Let's take a look here and see what's going on. All right, looks to be working here, but let's take the bigger picture here. Let's see what's happening at the weekly chart. Weekly chart shows, survey says, looks like it's putting in a pretty big base, and I would say right now the base is limited to about $1.35 here. So it's got to get above this base here at about $1.35 before I would say it's out of purgatory. So up in that area. So if and when it can get above there, I think that's good. Okay, next one is QANX. How's everybody doing out there today? Okay, QANX, looking at a weekly chart, doesn't look very good. This one has we had an initial pump in 2023, but since that point, people are going to be taking money out of their bags and putting them into BTC, trying to get the ride from this, and this is what we've been seeing over the last week or so. Let's see, Virtue Player Points, VPP, Virtue Poker. All right, so Virtue Poker looks pretty good on the weekly chart, is just setting up a big triangle right now. So there's a big triangle going into the apex. A lot of times I see these things drop out first before they take off. But either way, it's getting close to the apex for this guy. Next one is Zigcoin. Okay, this one looks pretty good. So this one has transitioned. Let me take a peek out here. So this one was, and look at the volume coming in. Look at the volume. This is what changed. So I don't really care so much about what was happening back here when there's no volume, because there was no reason to buy this in 2022. And then it put in its base, but since that base, it's done a really good job of setting up a nice weekly uptrend. Very nice. So that's a nice flag pattern here and a breakout from the flag. Looking really good. So Zigcoin, I like. Well, we've been, Ripple's just been, I don't know what to say about Ripple. Every time I get excited about Ripple, it disappoints me. Okay, so let's see. High-low versus USD. I'm not very good. I don't know what to say about this one. There's no trend here at all. Let's see who else is got something here. And hello, everybody. Thank you for checking in from, we got Darwin, San Antonio. We got the Prague checking in. We have Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania as well. Let's see. Okay, Dion. Okay, Dion Protocol. This one looks like it's in a massive flag pattern right now. Massive flag pattern. This is actually a monthly flag pattern. So this one's just captured in a range, and once it gets above there, it should run. Oh, we got Canada, eh? All right. Thank you for checking in from Canada. Fidium. So where do they get these names from? Fidium, wrap tether. Let's try this one here. Fidium is so new. There's not much that I can say from Fidium. It's so new. I really can't chart this one. Hey, we got Taos, New Mexico, checking in. All right. Okay, next one, and I'm gonna keep it to the half hour here because I'm losing my voice again. Okay, next one is CRV versus Tether. All right, this one it can be better. Let's reset this. So this is Curve DAO token, and this one has not gotten out of purgatory. So this one is still not transitioned into a weekly uptrend yet. So this one is, so Joey, this one is still no bueno. So you've probably been owning it for some time now, and it's probably driving you nuts, keeping you up at night. But this is why we have to, like, before you enter, you have to figure out what your exit is on these things, because otherwise that's what happens. You get into. Now, Phantom actually has been a terrible chart on the longer term, but in the shorter term, it's actually been pretty good. Now, I don't like the fact that it's, see, what we've been seeing in the last week or so, the last week or two, is we're seeing people selling their bags. They're selling winners. They're scraping up cash to put it into BTC to go for the ride. That's what we're seeing. You're seeing people scrape up cash to go for the ride. So this is why we see, Solana down 4.9%. This is why we're seeing a lot of assets down lately, even though they've been really good. Okay, so that's Phantom, and then Willicky. Hey, how you doing? We're going to look at SEI. Now, this one looks really good. So if we zoom out, and even when we zoom out, it looks even better. So this one has been a winner. Really good. And if we want to, we can look at this on the RSI Laguerre. So range expansion like this leads to exhaustion. And so what it's been doing is it's into exhaustion right now, and it may continue going sideways for quite some time until this earns the right to be able to trade higher. So this is what you'll see. You'll see this, breakout, consolidation, breakout, consolidation. And this one is probably going to be a little bit longer of a consolidation, but don't give up on this one yet, as it may be extended. Maybe an extended consolidation, but that looks really, really good. Willicky. Will XRP ever go up, or will it stay frozen at this level? I don't know. I mean, for the longest time, we kind of gave up on this one. Because every time it looks like Ripple's going to do something, it disappoints. So the news right now is on Ripple. Anytime that you see a rally on Ripple, you're supposed to sell into it. I mean, that's the only conclusion that you can come to. So unless Ripple is able to find some way to extend payments and, quit getting the SEC after it, then it's going to be in that mode. Okay, what about Centrifuge? Hey, Tony. CFG. Centrifuge. Okay, so this is the weekly chart. So weekly chart is looking better. So this is the base. This is the base that it was in, right? So it's out of the base. It's out of the basement. It's out of purgatory now. And it's pretty choppy. And I think we're seeing a little bit of this sort of the same kind of thing where people are taking profits into their winners to scrape up cash for the BTC ETF pump. And then once that occurs and we get to sell the news announcement, then we're going to go back into things like Centrifuge again. All right, ETH from Canada. Let's see, can you do TA on Mint Layer? 4 hours in daily, sure. All right, somebody is a fractal dude. So public mint. Oh, this can't be the one that you're looking at, right? Mint Layer. Okay, let's try Mint Layer. There we go. That's better. That's more better. Oh, that's beautiful. She's beautiful. Okay, let's just look at price and volume. Let's look at the weekly chart. Everything is wonderful with Mint Layer. This is looking good. So this is the reason why you guys come to these, because people like ETH are bringing out some really nice coins here. So I like how this one's moving. It's really good. Now, we can also go to, I can go to my fractal. Fractal layer here, and let's do the same thing. We're going to go to Mint Layer. Okay, so what's happening here? So what I've got is I've got monthly, weekly, and daily. Now, do I have one with the... Well, I can change this. Let's change this to... Why can't I change this? There we go. Let's change this to daily. And let's change this one to... I haven't changed the time frame on these things for so long. Good grief. Okay. Let's go to 5 hours instead. And then we'll go to 12 minutes over here. Okay, so this is daily, and if we're talking about daily, we have exhaustion on the daily. We have on the 5 hour chart, we're getting there. It's still not exhausted yet. And then here's 12 minutes. 12 minutes is full of energy. So still looking good. So that is Mint Layer for everybody. Okay. Hey, it's RJ. How you doing, RJ? I'm going to go back to my standard setup. Yeah, we're not going to change that. So that's Mint Layer, and RJ wants to look at Woo versus Tether. And Woo versus Tether, let's go out to the weekly chart. And that's a nice looking, so it's out of purgatory, RJ. So it's cleared the base down here where it just, this is where accounts go to die, and it's resurrected itself, and it's bounced off of that top there. So that's good. Now what's happening at the week or the daily chart? We're into that's a real strong move. It's into consolidation. So I would say watch these levels here. 46 cents and about 36 cents. I don't want to see it go down below the 50-day moving average on the red line here. That would be bad. If it's going to be ready to go, it should be going above 46 cents. So I'm going to look at this on the RSI Laguerre, and there's a lot of energy there. There's no doubt. Now on the weekly chart, this is out of exhaustion. It can break from here. So I would watch for 46 cents to validate the trend one more time. Okay, so that's Woo. Entheosapien wants to look at Hex. Not so good. Okay. This one is really in bad shape, and it's still, see, this is down here in purgatory. This is what happens, is that every rally gets sold. So until something fundamentally changes with Hex, every rally is going to be a, get them girls, go beat up on Hex and then push it down to the bottom of the range again. So I would say once it gets above 1.5 cents, it's out of purgatory, and then you'll start to see the volume coming into it. But look at the volume here. The volume is mostly coming on the selling. Volume is mostly coming on the selling, which is not good. So a couple of good days on Hex because it's cheap and it's at the bottom of the range. But until this stops the selling sell the rips and start to buy the dips, then we're going to continue going on that. Okay. All right, this will be the last one for today, and then I got to shut up because I'm about to lose the vocals here. Okay, Pyth Networks, Pyth. So this one had an initial pump and then nothing. And that's pretty common for a new offering. It's pretty common for a new offering. You get, I mean, this is what we're going to see from the Bitcoin ETF. We're going to see a little bit higher prices, and then we're going to see people, doing this kind of thing. So it's going to set up a really good, eventually when the Bitcoin ETF comes along, the sell the news announcement is going to be a great time for those of you that are dollar cost averaging. Okay, so with that, we have hit our half hour. Appreciate you guys checking us out. Please, when you get a chance, or if you want to know more about using options with the Bitcoin ETF, check us out at readysetcrypto.ONE. So readysetcrypto.ONE, not the .com. You can go there, but it'll flip you over to readysetcrypto.ONE, and you can get a week of free trial and kick the tires and see if it's something that you want. Thanks, everybody. You guys have a great week. It's we're going to have another great year, I do believe. This is going to be an amazing year for those of you that are trading in crypto. You're in the right place at the right time. Got to make the most of it this time. Got to make the most of it and practice risk management. Don't lose it this time. Thanks, everybody. You guys have a great day. I'll see you on the next one. Adios, amigos.